Yo, this is ZeroEchoZenith, coming to you live at time of recording, and welcome to the lighting episode. Yep, today we're going to be shining a spotlight on lighting in games, and the main techniques that you can use in order to make your environments either believable or imaginative, at least in the realm of design. I'm a light design and light theory kind of guy, not a computer graphics guy. So, just setting the record straight, this is just my opinion. To start, let's begin at the beginning. The history of lighting. The sun has been used since the beginning of history. One of the most well-known uses is in Greek theater, because people would then be able to see the actors on stage. They could have used fire at night, but maybe they wanted to save on oil. In film, Thomas Edison created the Black Maria, a studio that was built on top of a gigantic rotating platform that could face the sun in any orientation. Now, what would happen was the sun would come into the top of the studio, it was an open top, and it would reflect off of panels that would then provide light for a scene that could then be filmed. Just don't look directly at the sun. Ah, my eyes! Fire has also been used since the beginning of history. It's been used in countless ways, everything from lighting things in a radius to heating things up and cooking. Two uses of fire besides a bonfire or a torch would be candles and oil lanterns. Oil lanterns were mostly used by common folk, while candles had expensive wax and were mostly bought by richer folk. And now we move on to gaslighting. Yes, it's not just a phrase that you use nowadays.
I'm just saying that you can't be sure that it wasn't you.
That's ridiculous. Of course it wasn't me.
Marijuana is a memory loss drug, so maybe you just don't remember.
I would remember.
Well, how could you if it just erased your memory?
That's not how it works.
Now, how do you know how it works?
Knock it off. Okay, I'm interviewing you.
No, you said that I'd be conducting the interview when I walked in here. Now, exactly how much pot did you smoke?
Gaslighting was created in the late 1700s and more widely adopted in the early 1800s. It was mostly used for things like street lights and indoor lighting. It was a lot more cost-effective than fire and way brighter, which opened up way more options for both film and theater. And then, the light bulb. This is actually an LED light. Yes, incandescent lighting, created in the late 1800s and more widely adopted in the early 1900s. How an incandescent light works is that electricity is shot through a tungsten filament, which causes it to heat up and glow, and that's how you get light. Incandescent lighting was the beginning of modern lighting as a concept. By the 30s and 40s, pretty much all of America was using electric lighting in some way. It's opened up countless possibilities for what lighting could be used for in both film, theater, inside buildings, outside buildings. Now for fluorescent lighting, it's a gas that's inside a tube that glows through an electric discharge. It's pretty cool. It mostly has applications in things like offices, classes, stores, and also a lot of applications in film as well, mostly for like a way how to wash a certain part of a set or for people. And finally, we move on to LED lighting. LED lighting is emitter-based lighting that is through control circuits that isn't on a dimmer like how incandescent lighting is. They're used in pretty much everything now. That light is LED, this light that I just turned on is LED, pretty much everything is now an LED light. With the history out of the way, I now just want to talk about the basic concepts of lighting in theater and film. They have the same elements, but they're used in very different ways. This is just in relation to lighting in real life. In any artistic product, light has a very important role, whether it's to draw the eye somewhere or to invoke a certain mood or a feeling for the audience. And shadows are the same, except they have the opposite goal of hiding things that you don't want the audience to see. The colors of your lighting are very important too, because they have a certain emotion that's usually attached to them. For example, red would be something like passion or anger and rage, while blue would be more calming and sad or dour. And green would be, disgust or envy, or in theater, the supernatural. For theater, you have things such as a highlight and a shadow light. You would use something like a warm light for your highlight tones, the brighter parts of someone's skin, And then for your shadows, that would fill in things like the contours of your face, where your eyes are. Even where I'm sitting right now, I have a highlight coming from this side of my face, while the darker tones of the lights, they're acting as my shadow lighting. So you have shadow coming from this side and highlights coming from this side. This kind of concept is known as two-tone lighting in the professional theater world. Film lighting is a lot more different because you are a lot more close to the actors than you are in theater. You have a key light, you have, things like backlighting. You can have backlighting for theater too, but I'm talking about film. Top lighting, like halo lighting, fill lighting, of course. And of course, there's practical lighting too. Practical lighting are things such as lamps and other forms of lights that can be operated and used on a stage or inside a studio for a film shoot. You have a ton of different options. So the reason why I'm explaining all of this is because light in a physical space interacts differently depending on what it's bouncing off of and what it's hitting. And that's just the physical reality that's around us. However, none of this matters in computer graphics. Ugh! Because guess what? Lighting doesn't work in computer graphics. It's all based off of algorithms and calculations from light rays that are programmed to interact with a material. It's not real. None of it is real. None of it's real. It's not real. None of it's real. The concept is real, but it's not real when you're having to have a calculation running from a game engine that then reflects off of different surfaces, depending on what kind of objects you have around the area. It's completely different. In games, you have a light source. And from this light source, it's placed somewhere, and then light casts in a direction. And shadows are created and interact with this light source and project a shadow map against other parts of the scenery and other objects. They reflect a certain amount of light depending upon what texturing they have. This can be anything from what type of material they are to their color. So, for example, steel or metal would reflect a lot more lighting than cloth, like a curtain. But cloth also reflects light as well. In fact, everything reflects light. By the way, do you know what radiosity is? Yeah, okay, so in my own words, radiosity is a law in physical reality that every single thing reflects lighting. Everything, including your skin. I'm reflecting lighting right now, just by being in this room that I'm in. If you shine a flashlight at a wall, it's not just getting lighting from your flashlight. It's also getting lighting from the other walls that's reflecting the light from the wall that you're shining the light at, or light coming in from a window. It's bouncing around all the walls and it's reflecting light and illuminating the space until the light kind of starts to dissipate. I pretty much explained what ray tracing is with what I just talked about. But for something like volumetric lighting, it's a tiny bit different. It deals with a simulation of lighting which interacts with particles in the air, like fog or dust. The more basic form of this would be painted-on lighting, or more widely known as baked-in lighting. Baked-in lighting is a pre-rendered form of lighting that doesn't have any real-time reflections. It's already been calculated. Games like World of Warcraft and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess are examples of these. Did you get all that? Good! It's gonna be on the test next time. Part 2 will go over the 4 main lighting techniques in games, and I'll be analyzing some scenes from games such as Monster Hunter Wilds and Resident Evil 2 Remake. This is ZeroEchoZenith, signing off. I'll see you next time.